So this is one of those examples where if you watch my videos, you know I have trouble pronouncing things I've never seen before. And I think that's an important skill, is when you get to the test, remember, they're throwing new words at you deliberately to slow you down. So maybe these two words are not new to you, but they're new to me, and I'm not going to bother pronouncing them or worrying about them because I know it's not really what the passage is about. It's what they say about those things that matter. So if I do that, it's because I don't want to expend even the slightest amount of brain power trying to pronounce something that I don't really care about. I want to answer the question. That's where all my brain power needs to go. So the other piece of this is it's not really even about those things. It's about Zhang's claim, right? We have to support it. But what is the claim that this person has? So let's take a look. In the 1980s, many musicians and journalists in the English-speaking world began to draw attention to music from around the globe, such as this thing from South Africa and this other thing from Vietnam. That can't be easily categorized according to British or North American popular music genres, typically referring to such music as world music. Whew, so they can't be easily categorized. That's all I really got out of that. While some scholars have welcomed this development for bringing diverse musical forms to prominence in countries where they'd previously been overlooked, musicologist Sue Zhang claims that the concept of world music homogenizes highly distinct traditions by reducing them to a single category. So the word homogenizes you need to know. I'll talk about that in a second. In fact, let me highlight it so I don't forget. But I know that most people won't know that word. And so we have to be able to make do without it. And that's okay because we have two pieces of evidence that will help us with that, right? Reducing them to a single category basically is just defining the word. And then also we have the contrast, right? So this is why it's so important to remember your goal for a question like this is to focus on the specific claim or hypothesis or whatever that the question tells you to focus on. So they say some people say that this is a good thing, but it seems like Zhang says that it's bad. Right? So it's bad to reduce to single category, right? That's basically it. I'm running out of space. There you go. So I can tell they're trying to trick you, right? I can tell that they want us to get confused whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. And so that just sorting through that is important. And that's why, make sure with these support weekend questions, you are supporting the right conclusion. There might be multiple conclusions within the passage. And that's the whole point, is they're trying to just confuse you about what you're actually supposed to be doing. So let's talk about the choices then. These two music things developed independently of each other and have little in common musically. Okay, so how would that support Zhang's view? Would that be bad then to reduce them to a single category? Well, if they're independent and have little in common, then to put them in the same category would be bad. What I don't love about that is there's a lot of me explaining to get to that connection. So usually we want it to just be very literal and obvious related back to the passage, but it is logical. Okay, to reduce them to a single category is bad if they don't have anything in common. All right, I don't know. Let's move on. B, this thing is, the first one is significantly more popular in the English-speaking world than the other. Well, remember, they were not trying to kind of rank these two things and say one is better than another. They're just saying that these are two examples of world music. And is that a good thing that they're two examples? Is it bad to call them this world music? I don't know. But I don't think, I'm just trying to think of how I could fit this in, right? It would be bad to put them in a single category if one is more popular than another. Well, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, right? If I think of any type of music, some of it is good, some of it is bad, some of it is popular, some of it is not. Country music, rap music, hip hop, whatever. There's some that's very popular and some that doesn't get on the radio, right? That popularity doesn't seem to be the issue here. So I don't know. This one seems wrong. These two musics are now performed by a diverse array of musicians with no direct connections to South Africa or Vietnam. Okay, so it would be bad to put them in the same category because they're performed by different people now. But if they're in the same category, then it seems good to put them in the same category if they're not currently performed by people who started the music, right? Because then they don't have any connection to their original, source. So we should lump them together because maybe the same artists are performing all of them. I don't know. I'm stretching here. It feels hard to connect. So that's not a good sign. Try to notice that when you feel like you're struggling to make a connection to the categories. I don't know. If anything, it seems like that would be a good reason to put them in the same category, is that they're not as diverse as they once were. That's kind of my interpretation there. So I don't know. I'm just confused by this one. These two musics are highly distinct from British North American popular music genres, but similar to each other. Well, if they're similar to each other, then it makes sense to put them in the same category. This is the trap. This is what they want you to pick if you are confused about what we're trying to argue for, right? We're trying to support Zhang, who says it's bad to put them in the same category. So that dumb summary really helps me here. This is saying that if they're similar, that would be good. That would be a good reason to put them in the same category. So that's definitely wrong. So it took me a little bit of effort to get there, but I do like A, right? Just to reiterate what it was, remember, if these are independent and have little in common, then we shouldn't put them in the same category. They're different. They don't belong in the same group. So at the end of the day, it is a sentence away from the passage, right? It requires a sentence of my own logic, but it's a reasonable thing. I'm not like inventing some crazy situation here. I'm just kind of going with like, yeah, if they're different, we shouldn't group them together. That's common sense. So even when we do need to bring in new information or do a little bit of reasoning, it should still be minimal effort on your part. So try to feel that in your brain as you're thinking it through. Like, how hard am I working to make this choice fit? How hard am I working to connect it back to the passage? The harder you have to work, the more likely a choice is wrong. So C, I just had a lot of effort there, and I don't even think I understood it right. So not a good sign. Whereas A, at the end of the day, yeah, I can go with just one sentence, and I'm like, all right, good enough. So I would not feel a lack of confidence with this answer choice. I would feel pretty good about it. Maybe if I did have some time, I would come back and review this one. But honestly, it's just a hard question where you got to do a little thinking.